Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Diri Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. Today we're starting new chapter, chapter 8, the story of Pingala. Text 1 onwards. So further, the Brahman is speaking about 24 Gurus. Shri Brahman Uvacha, Sukham Andriya Kamrajan, Swarge Narakevacha, Dehinam Yadyatha Dukkham, Tasmane Chetatat Buddha. The saintly Brahman said, O king, the embodied living entity automatically experiences unhappiness in heaven or hell. Similarly, happiness will also be experienced even without one seeking it. Therefore, a person of intelligent discrimination does not make any endeavor to obtain such material happiness, because they both come on their own. One should not uselessly waste his life pursuing material sense gratification, because a specific quantity of material happiness will automatically come to one as a result of one's past and present fruitive activities. This lesson is learned from the Ajagar or python, who lies down and accepts for his maintenance whatever comes of its own accord. Remarkably, in both material heaven and hell, happiness and unhappiness come automatically due to our previous activities. Although the proportions of happiness and unhappiness certainly vary. Either in heaven or in hell, one may eat, drink, sleep, and have sex life, but these activities, being based on the material body, are temporary and inconsequential. An intelligent person should see that even the best material situation is actually a punishment for previous unlawful activities executed outside the scope of loving devotion service to God. So an intelligent person should see even the best material situation can give us wonderful material happiness, but it's a punishment. It should see, because I did not do bhakti. I wasted my time in all these activities. A conditioned soul undergoes great trouble to obtain a little happiness. After struggling in material life, which is full of hardship and hypocrisy, one may receive a little sense gratification, but this illusory pleasure in no way offsets the burden of suffering one must bear to obtain it. After all, a pretty hat is no cure for a homely face. If one really wants to solve life's problems, one should live simply and reserve the major portion of one's life for loving service to Krishna. Even those who do not serve God receive a certain standard of maintenance from Him. Therefore, we can just imagine the security the Lord affords to those who dedicate their lives to His devotion service. Very nicely written. Even those who do not serve God, those who are atheistic, who don't even believe in God, they also receive a certain standard of maintenance. Because after all, everybody is Krishna's child. Krishna says, Aham Bija Pradapita. So why won't he maintain and take care of those who have fully surrendered unto him? He always does. Unrefined fruitive workers foolishly worry only about the present life, whereas more pious karmis imprudently make elaborate arrangements for future material sense gratification. Pious karmis, they do pious activities now, some charities, some penance, some tapasya, some austerity, some dahan, some tapa, some japa, something they keep on doing. But what does it lead to? Future material sense gratification. unaware that all such enjoyment is temporary. The real solution, however, is to understand that by pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is a master of all senses and all desires, one can attain permanent happiness. And that's the only way to attain permanent happiness. And not just the permanent happiness, the happiness in the spiritual world is always increasing. It doesn't stay at one place. Such knowledge easily solves the problem of life. So grasam sumrishtam virasam mahantam stokam eva yadrichya patitam grased ajagaro akriyaha. Following the example of the python, one should give up material endeavors and accept for one's maintenance food that comes of its own accord, whether such food be delicious or tasteless, ample or meager. If we remember Rishabdev, Lord Rishabdev, when he left everything, he left his kingdom, gave instructions to the children, he appointed Bharat Maharaj as the next king, and he left. And he was also living like a python after some time. And people would come, spit on him, urinate on him, throw stones at him, but he would not retaliate. So python, that's what he does. He just stays at one place, and even he gets his food. Krishna makes arrangements for that also. But this is a special quality. He doesn't do a whole lot of endeavor to run after food. Of course, we cannot imitate him, but this should be our mentality, that our material endeavors should be minimum, bare minimum. We cannot just stay at one place and hope somebody will come and give. Oh, Krishna will make sure that we are fed. That's where he comes into picture. He will make sure, but let the faith grow slowly. So the point is not to over endeavor to earn money and to go after material sense gratification and to have this and that and this and that. Ultimately, it's a wastage of time. Rather, spend that time in service of Krishna, chanting his names. Shayataha nibhurini nirahara vanukramaha yadi no nayed graso mahahirev dishtubhuk. If at any time food does not come, then a saintly person should fast for many days without making endeavor. He should understand by God's arrangement he must fast. Thus, following the example of Python, he should remain peaceful and patient. If by God's arrangement one is forced to suffer material hardship, then one should think, due to my past sinful activity, I am now being punished. In this way, God is mercifully making me humble. The word shaita means one should remain peaceful and patient without mental agitation. So this is more important, peaceful and patient without mental agitation. We, in fact, get agitated even if we are standing in the line of prasadam and we don't get prasadam, or we don't get enough prasadam, or we don't get the items that I wanted. We get agitated on that also. But here, how peaceful and patient one must be. And this is, Krishna tests us. Every single moment, testing will be going on. Dishtubhuk means one must accept the personality of Godhead as a supreme controller and not foolishly give up one's faith due to material inconvenience. Tatyanukambam susamikshamano. A devotee of the Lord always accepts material hardship as the mercy of Lord Krishna. Thus he becomes eligible for supreme liberation. And this is true, that one should remain peaceful and patient without mental agitation. It's true not just for food part. It's true for everything. Suppose I think that I should be making so much of money and I'm not getting it. Be patient. Just be patient. Keep on doing the duties and offering respects to Krishna. Do our devotional service. Whenever the time is ready, we will get it. We'll get the promotion. We'll get the whatever more money as we think we should get, because ultimately Krishna is in charge. So we become impatient. We want it now. And this much money, Krishna, you don't know what you're doing. I know what is right for me. That's not the way. Krishna knows everything. Ojasaho balayutam vibradeham akarmakam shayano vita nidrascha nehetendriyavanapi. A saintly person should remain peaceful and materially inactive, maintaining his body without much endeavor. Even though possessed of full sensual, mental, and physical strength, a saintly person should not become active for material gain, but rather should always remain alert to his actual self-interest. So actual self-interest, which is bhakti, that he should be alert for. The word Vit Nidra in this verse is very significant. Nidra means sleep or ignorance, and Vit means freed from. In other words, a transcendentalist should always be awake to his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should carefully cultivate Krishna consciousness. Being confident of his relationship with the Lord, he should not endeavor for his personal maintenance, knowing that the Lord is protecting him in all respects. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that the example of the python is given so that one will not uselessly waste his time in bodily maintenance. One should not think, however, that the purpose of life is to lie on the ground like a python or to make a show of starving the body. The example of the python should not encourage one to become completely inactive. One should rather become active in spiritual advancement and inactive in material sense gratification. If one becomes completely inactive, that is certainly nidra, the darkness of ignorance, in which one remains asleep to his identity as an eternal servant of the personality of Godhead. So that kind of ignorance is not required. But for one's material prosperity, one should just do bare minimum. A transcendentalist is eager to execute his service to the Lord, and therefore he is grateful when the Lord provides material facilities for such service. Mere renunciation of the material world is Falgu Vairagya, or an immature stage of spiritual understanding. One must come to the stage of Yukta Vairagya, engaging everything in the service of Lord Krishna. It's our practical experience that a devotee absorbed in spreading Krishna consciousness automatically receives all facilities for his personal maintenance. Not just he receives all facilities, he receives much more than the facilities he requires or he needs. But that's also a way Krishna tests us, tests a devotee. How much you're really attached to the facilities and how much you're really attached to in my service. And about Krishna taking care of his devotees, even if they are completely away from serving or taking care of or materially if they're not doing anything, how Krishna takes care of his devotees. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to perform his Sankirtan at Srivas Thakur's house. Srivas Thakur was a Grihastha. And there were 4 brothers, Srivas, Sripati, Srinidhi, and Sriram. 4 Grihasthas, wives, children, big family. And Mahaprabhu once asked Srivas, how do you maintain your family? You don't do any business, you don't do any job. There is no income. How do you maintain your family? And Srinivas Thakur, he just clapped his hand once. Mahaprabhu said, Srinivas, what are you doing? I'm asking you a serious question. And what is this clapping your hand? How do you maintain your family? And Srinivas Thakur clapped his hand twice. Mahaprabhu said, looks like you're not in a mood to answer the question. How do you? I mean, you have such a big family to look after. You have a house. How do you maintain? And then Srinivas Thakur clapped his hand 3 times. So Mahaprabhu said, okay, tell me, what's the meaning of this clapping this hand 3 times? He said, Shiva said, 3 times in, one day, if you don't send anything for the maintenance of my family, we fast. Then we fast for 2 days, if you still don't send. And 3rd day, if you still don't send, then we'll all jump in the Ganges and commit suicide. And Shiva Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased that you have so much of faith in me, Srinivas. And then he blessed Srinivas. Even if Lakshmi has to go door to door begging, although that day will never come and Lakshmi ji has to go begging, but he said, even if Lakshmi ji has to go begging, there'll never be a day you are not maintained. There'll not be any scarcity in your house. This is how Mahaprabhu or Krishna maintains their devotees. But of course, Srinivas Thakur, we have to be at the level of Srinivas Thakur if we think Mahaprabhu is going to maintain us like that. He still does. Krishna still does. He does take care of his devotees. But we have to also serve him properly. We have to be fully surrendered. In fact, whenever we get a chance to go to Mayapur, we'll go to Srinivas Angan. It's not too far from ISKCON Mayapur. In fact, the pujaris there, now there are deities. The house they have converted into a temple, they're the deities. And the pujaris say, we still don't have any scarcity in this temple. We don't go out for begging. We don't ask for donations. Every once in a while, somebody comes and leaves a bag of rice or whatever we want. It just comes. That's mercy of Mahaprabhu. But that faith has to be there. And that mood of service has to be there. Muni prasanna gambhiro durvigayo duratyaya ananta paro yakshobhya stim itod ivaranava. A saintly sage is happy and pleasing in his external behavior, whereas internally he is most grave and thoughtful. Because his knowledge is immeasurable and unlimited, he is never disturbed. And thus, in all respects, he is like the tranquil waters of the unfathomable and unsurpassable ocean. Even in the midst of great distress, a self-realized sage does not lose control of himself, nor is his spiritual knowledge lost. Thus is akshobhya, or undisturbed. His mind is fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is a reservoir of unlimited spiritual bliss. And having linked his consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness, his knowledge cannot be measured. Because his mind is fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the knowledge, bliss, everything comes from Krishna. A pure devotee, having taken shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, possesses great spiritual power, and therefore he cannot be surpassed or overwhelmed. In fact, having developed his spiritual body, he is not affected by the deteriorating actions of time. Although outwardly he is friendly and pleasing to everyone, internally his mind is fixed in the absolute truth, and no one can understand his actual purpose or plan. Even the most intelligent human being cannot understand the mental activities of a self-realized devotee who has given up material life based on lust and greed and taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Vaishnavir Kriya Mudra, Vigya Nambuje. Even the most intelligent cannot understand. Such a great soul can be compared to the mighty ocean. Innumerable powerful rivers plunge into the ocean, but the ocean remains calm and peaceful. Ocean so calm and it doesn't increase. Its level, water level doesn't increase. So many rivers all over the world are going or dumping water in the ocean every second. Thus, a saintly person is understood to be like the ocean, pleasing, unfathomable, grave, unsurpassable, unlimited, and unshakable. So these are the qualities of the ocean. Once Prabhupada used to go for morning walk, and once he was near the ocean, he was walking on the beach. I don't know, Juhu Beach or probably in America. So he looked at the ocean. He asked the devotees, what's so good quality about the ocean? So everybody was saying different things. Prabhupada said, look, Krishna has made this boundary. Although the ocean is huge, it's very powerful, but it doesn't cross its boundary. Krishna has made this boundary for the ocean. Of course, if tsunami is there, then it's a different story. But normally, it doesn't cross the boundary. Oh, there are so many different characteristics of ocean. And in Bhagavad Gita, in second chapter, it is mentioned, the self-realized soul, his mind is like an ocean. Even if all the desires are there, he still does not get disturbed by those desires. So that's also quality of ocean and the quality of a self-realized soul. It does not get disturbed. So many desires, material desires are there. We get disturbed. Then we want to satisfy or enjoy those desires. But the self-realized soul is not disturbed. Samriddha kamo hino va narayana paro mihi no utsarpet na shusheta sarid bhirev sagaraha. During the rainy season, the swollen rivers rush into the ocean, and during the dry summer, the rivers, now shallow, severely reduce the supply of water. Yet the ocean does not swell up during the rainy season, nor does it dry up in the hot summer. In the same way, a saintly devotee who has accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a goal of his life sometimes will receive by providence great material opulence, and sometimes he will find himself materially destitute. However, such a devotee of the Lord does not rejoice in a flourishing condition, nor is morose when he is poverty-stricken. A sincere devotee of the Lord is always eager to meet the Lord and render him transcendental service. He wants to remain fixed as an atom at the lotus feet of the Lord, because Lord Krishna or Narayan is a reservoir of all pleasure. He rejoices when experiencing pure Krishna consciousness and is morose when Krishna is not present in his mind. In his dealings with the material world, a devotee cannot be disturbed by ordinary materialistic people who sometimes insult him and accuse him of neglecting material sense gratification, just as the ocean cannot be disturbed by the innumerable rivers that enter into it. Sometimes lusty women approach a pure devotee, and sometimes speculative philosophers try to argue against the personality of Godhead. But with all such ordinary people, a pure devotee is detached and undisturbed in his blissful Krishna consciousness. So all such provoking situations will be there. They will come one after the other. Somebody will insult, they'll just say, lusty women can approach a pure devotee, lusty men can approach a lady devotee. Many things can happen, will happen, keep on happening. But like an ocean, we have to remain calm, not get agitated. A pure devotee is detached and undisturbed in his blissful Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness is so blissful, it cannot disturb the heart of a devotee who has understood what is the real value of life. Materially, people will say, some materialistic people will keep on provoking this insult or other saying or other thing. It will keep on happening. If it doesn't happen, then we should sing, oh, something is wrong. I'm not doing my devotion service properly. So, but we have to become like an ocean and remain completely undisturbed, completely calm. Okay, I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri.